Hello and welcome to another video by reitspro.com, a site for insightful articles, videos, and a lot more stuff on REITs and invit investing in India. In this video, we take up the payouts that the Indian REITs have given in the financial year 21-22. In fact, as we all know, there are three existing REITs in India: the Embassy REIT, the Mindspace REIT, and the Brookfield REIT. So we will look at the payouts in Q4 as well as in the complete financial year 2021, and there are certain things that we would bring out in terms of how the actual returns turn out for the investors and what are the tax implications and so on, very briefly. So what we have done in the earlier video is that the last video talked about the main concepts, that how REITs generate returns, and you can have a look at it. And mainly we talked about two ways of generating returns: the recurring and the capital returns, the capital appreciation. So here we talk about the recurring returns, which come in the form of payouts. Now for more in-depth aspects of all aspects related to returns, we would be covering more in-depth aspects of taxation as well as the REIT structure and so on. And do subscribe to our videos and stay tuned to upcoming videos too. So the Mindspace REIT, the Embassy REIT, or the Mindspace REIT, or the Brookfield REIT, they all generate nice regular returns because of two main reasons. Number one, the investors earn because REITs are mandated to invest mainly in completed rent generating commercial real estate. That's one. And the second thing is the tax treatment, and the tax laws have made REIT returns pretty favorable in the hands of the investor, and a major part of what the investor gets in hand is in fact tax free. So these two things make the returns pretty nice for the REIT investors, and this is what we will cover in our future slides in this video. So the regular returns in fact are called distributions. They are not called dividends, like we talk about the payouts as being dividends in regular equity stock. And in fact their tax treatment is also different. So the distributions comprise of four main components, as you can see here. The first is the dividends. So dividends is a small part of the total distributions, or a large part depending on how the payouts are given. The second part is the interest. The third is return of capital, or amortization of loans, or of SPVs, as you will see in the future slides. And the fourth part is rent. So there are four main ways in which returns can be given by REITs on their REIT units. So this is again, now this is a snapshot of what the Embassy, Mindspace, and Brookfield REIT have given for the full year 2021-22, and the tax-free component, as you can see in the bottom, is 82%, 93%, and 34% respectively. So I will come back to this slide again and explain it a little more in detail later, but this is just to give a snapshot of how the distributions happen in terms of interest, amortization or redemption, or return of capital type 2, type 3 as dividend, which is tax free, and dividend type 4, which is taxable. So the four components are highlighted here. The similarly, a snapshot of a actual distribution advice by Embassy REIT is given here, which is the most recent, and it's for the Q4 2021-22. And as you can see, there are four columns here. One is the interest, the second is dividend proceeds of SPVs, and the fourth happens to be the total distribution amount. So Embassy REIT in fact divided its payouts into three main things, which is interest, dividend, and amortization, or repayment of capital, whatever you can call it. So 0.7, 2.25, and 2.31 per unit, totaling to 5.26 unit per unit in Q4 21-22. And as you can see here, the tax is only deducted in row C for the interest portion, not for the others. So this is where the interest, only the interest component of the unit holders' receipts is taxed in case of the complete payout of 5 rupees and 26 paise per unit. So here the number of units is given as 1200, as you can see on serial number 9 on top, and multiplied by the respective per unit prices, you get the row E on the bottom. That's how you get the total amounts. So just to clarify it further, this is another snapshot from the available on the net for FAQs of Embassy REIT, and this is blown up. The serial number 1 is blown up further, and it's highlighted, magnified further, and it says what will be the nature of distributions of Embassy REIT. So it has been highlighted here as underlined in red, that number 1 dividend, number 2 interest, and number 3 amortization. So the tax, and it's further written that the tax perspective retains the same character and proportion as the underlying income stream. So this we will clarify further on in our videos, but the current video mainly focuses on how these payouts are given to the unit holder. So what will be the nature of distributions? Again, these 4 things, and the fourth one is separated out because it's not a part of an Embassy REIT payout, because these are for in the nature of rent, which is for assets which are held directly by it. Since Embassy REIT is not holding any assets directly, they are not giving it out as rental. So they are mainly holding it as special purpose vehicles under the REIT. So that, again, that structure I will share a snapshot of that, but a detailed video will follow soon. And the pertinent question for a lot of people is the third part of this return, that is return of capital. What is the impact and what are the buybacks like? Again, we will cover it separately, but right now we just need to probably understand that for the purpose of returns, you would club everything together and take out an IRR or a return as a summation of everything. So that is what we would do it, because the return of capital is a little different from what you'd have in case of equities. So why is the distribution divided into dividends, interest, and return of capital? So it's mainly dependent on how the REIT structure is formed. So there is a sponsor and unit holder, and as you can see, what happens is that the REIT, in between the green part, they hold various companies, and under that there is real estate. So depending on how the money is infused into the REIT and then on to further, the upward flows are characterized as dividends or interest on return or capital and so on. So let's come to the actuals now, that what is the financial implication in terms of what is the financial year 21-22 distribution. So as you can see, in case of Embassy REIT, now I'll take up all the 3 Embassy REIT, Mindspace and Brookfield. So in case of Embassy REIT, you have it as follows, that the total distribution happens to be 2176, and you can probably pause there if you want to see the Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4 distributions. And just to let you know, the type 2 row and the type 3 row are the non-taxable ones. So here the unit holder does not have to pay taxes on this when he gets this money, and on the rest. So it's a very small part, that on the total 21 rupees 76 paise that he pays tax only on 3 rupees 85 paise for the full financial year. And again, now coming to Mindspace, again the same thing is there, that out of 18 rupees 45 paise, if you see, only 17 rupees 12 paise, no, in fact a very small portion of 1 rupee 33 paise is taxable, and 17.12 is non-taxable. In Brookfield, in fact, it's a little different, and out of 22 rupees, only about 6 rupees 72 paise plus 71 paise are non-taxable. But here the returns are a little higher, so we'll get into that. The pre-tax, now the next part we'll get into is what the pre-tax and post-tax returns for these 3 REITs are. So if you this is a summary of what we've just discussed on the 3 REITs. So as a summary, Embassy gave the returns on the column on the row in the gray bottom, and the tax-free component is also below that gray row. So 82%, 93% and 34% are tax free out of 21, 76, 18, 45 and 22, 10.10 rupees. So if you are looking at Embassy REIT here, let's assume that you bought it somewhere in July and the returns are around 21 rupees, 22 rupees 10 paise, 21 rupees 76 paise, and you bought it at a price of 350 rupees. So the 6.2% per annum happens to be the percentage return for the year, but this is a post-tax return. So if you really look at it, the effective one is not 6.2%. Effectively you are getting 8.4% pre-tax, and the calculations for the same are worked out here. So if you have a purchase price of 350 and a distribution of 21.76, out of which 18% is taxable, then the pre-tax, if you move to the right, you have a pre-tax of 3.92 and which is taxable, and a pre-tax of 25.49, where here we are assuming a 30% tax bracket. So if you multiply 35.49 by 70%, which means you're taking out 30%, you will get a price of 17.84, and that's how a total distribution of 29.41 has been arrived at. So in fact the pre-tax in this case works out to 8.4%. Similarly, if you look at Mindspace REIT, again the purchase price, if you can see the graph here, let's assume that you purchased it at a price of around 285, then 18.4 being the distribution, the percentage return per annum happens to be 6.4%. Again, the percentage return pre-tax is around 9%. For this, again, I have shared another screenshot here. You can probably pause it and analyze the same here and see how the returns work out. The third REIT, which is the Brookfield REIT, is also similarly analyzed, and again 22.1 divided by 270 gives you 8.2% and 9.3% pre-tax. For the convenience of the viewers, I have again worked out here the calculations of how 8.19 translates to a pre-tax of 9.38%, which may be paused here and seen again in detail if somebody is interested. So the summary here is that the total annual payouts that REITs gave is shared with the viewers here in terms of the Q4 as well as the full financial year. The second part is that what is visible is something very different from what is pre-tax. So in fact some REITs are more efficient and some less, but the REITs in India for the financial year 2021-22 have given an approximate pre-tax of 8.4 to 9.4%. This is a remarkable higher in comparison to what an FD return would give you. Plus, we are not talking here about the capital appreciation.